Hey guys, welcome to our third official Love Fast broadcast. This has been so much fun for me. We started a month ago and we had my friend Dara, then we had my friend Melanie. We do this every other week. At 9 o'clock on Wednesday, I come together and I think, you know what? I just need some real life practical application of what it means to love people, to put love into action in the midst of the chaos, guys. I have been the one to say I don't have time or energy, capacity, bandwidth to serve others or to go above and beyond or to go the extra mile that God has called us to, because guys, life is life. But I'm here to ask my friends how they put love into action, and that's really what Love Fast is all about. So I'm excited to invite my wonderful, beautiful friend Baylor on. I'm going to add her to my group. Bear with me. Go live in the room. Okay. You would think after the third time. Let's see if it works. I hope my internet works. Baylor, whenever you can join.
Did I do it
Hey.
right?
Yes. Can
Good.
you hear
Okay.
me? You look, I love you. Can you hear me okay? Am I
Yes,
choppy?
you are good. I feel like the top half of my head is cut off.
Well,
There we go.
whatever's working. You
I
have
mean, I have a big forehead, so that might be part of the problem. It's definitely a
a
possibility.
really round face,
Oh, yeah.
and I see that in my son. I'm like, oh, he has an adorable face, and as a 6-year-old boy, it's really
Yes.
but as a 35-year-old woman,
Right. Right. Yeah, well, maybe people will always just really trust him because he has that really angelic face.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dangerously cute where we're like, say no to him, be strong, be
Oh
strong.
yeah. No, I have one of those. My son it's ridiculous how cute he is. It's really, I can say that because it's true and because I didn't have anything to do with it. We adopted him and he is like the most beautiful everywhere we go. People are like, "Oh my gosh." I'm like, "I know, trust me. I know." Like he is that
Yeah.
cute.
I love that. And actually, Baylor, I'm glad that you brought that up because that's one of the things I want to talk to you about today.
Hmm.
But I'm going to, oh my gosh, we could have girl talk all day long. And I'm excited because we get to hang out in June together, face to face.
Yeah,
Background information about Baylor and I, we have never met in person.
that's right.
So Baylor and I had the privilege of being chosen for the first book proposal boot camp hosted by Lisa Tierkirst
Hmm.
in Proverbs 31 Ministries to develop a book proposal, and we launched it, and it was this whole 10-week experience.
Yes.
As you would imagine, if you're walking through 10 weeks of anything, you're going to build relationships. And Baylor really stuck out to me because she is a mom of 3, a wife, obviously, and then she's also a survivor of international adoption.
Yes.
And most recently, which is one of my favorite things, is that you have conquered, am I saying this right? Is it 10-hour drive?
12, 12,
12
12
hour
hours. Yeah.
road trip solo by yourself with
Yes.
3 kids.
Yes.
So it's 12 hours there, 12 hours back for spring
Yeah.
break.
Hmm. I've done it a few times. So we live in Birmingham, but I'm from South Florida, like the Fort Lauderdale area.
Okay.
And it is expensive to fly, and so we drive. And the first time I did it, I was really nervous, but now I feel like everyone gets one superpower in their life, and mine is this. It is road tripping with little kids. So I will not have use for it for long, but it is handy these days.
Okay, so when you told me, I've been following you, and I was like, oh, look at this. Baylor's like conquering the world.
She's insane.
Yeah, I didn't think you were insane. I had great admiration, and I honestly, Baylor, thought that this was like a temporary thing.
Mm-mm.
Like, if somebody challenges me to something once, I'll do it, but then I'll learn
Yeah.
it's not it. But you're telling me you've done this multiple times?
I usually do it 3 times a year. Spring
12
break,
hours.
summer, and Christmas. Yeah. Well, Christmas, my husband's with me for the Christmas drive, but the spring break drive and then the summer drive, it's just mom.
That just tells me how much you value quality time with loved ones.
I do. I do. I love my family. So it is well worth it. Well worth the drive to get down there. We always have so much fun. It's the drive back is the killer. It's just because I'm just already tired. But
Yeah.
yeah, we did it. It's good. I don't have to do it again for another couple months. So I'm excited for
The drive back is always the worst. Nick and I drive to Georgia often. We live in Tampa Bay area
that.
and we drive to Atlanta often, and it's not 12 hours, it's like 9. And we even think
Yeah,
that's long.
it's a lot. It's a whole day.
I'm very impressed, and that just
Well, thank you.
proves to you have great stamina and patience and superpowers.
A long suffering bit of patience that I've cultivated over years of waiting on other things.
Okay, speaking of momness, for those who are choosing to listen to the whole 10 minutes of this interview, at the end of this interview, which Baylor doesn't know yet, we're doing a mom trivia, which is going to
Oh
be a lot.
Lord.
Just stay tuned.
Oh boy.
But I would love people to know a little bit more about you, Baylor. So, one of the main
Yeah.
questions I ask everyone on our Love Fast broadcast is tell me a little bit about your love story with God, how it started, how it went, how it's going, kind of just who are you?
I think this is such a great question. And so I grew up in a Christian home and went to a Christian school. I couldn't tell you a day when I didn't know Jesus. Just I think I was young enough when I asked Jesus into my heart for the first time that it's just always been a part of who I am and a huge part. I mean, at the center of my family. Um, but I think the thing that, when I knew you were going to ask me this question, I was like, well, what is the thing that I feel like is the most like recently resonant about this? And so I mentioned that our oldest child, our son Bradley, is from Ethiopia. So we have Bradley, who we adopted from Ethiopia, and then I had a baby, Asher, our middle girl, and then we brought our youngest daughter, Lou, home from China about almost 3 years ago. And because I grew up in the church, I, knew all the rules and I was really good at following the rules, and just really kind of embraced like doing the right thing. And that sounds really noble and really, really righteous. But what I learned over the course of time was that my motivation was not noble and was not righteous. It was me believing that if I did all these things, then God would do all these other things for me.
Mm.
And that was a hard a hard sinful belief to really recognize in myself and come to terms with. And really when it all came to a head was when my husband and I had been married for a couple of years and we really felt like the Lord was leading us to start trying to grow our family. And we started trying to have a baby and we couldn't. And so we knew that adoption was going to be a part of our story. That was something we'd known for years, was that we wanted to have kids and we wanted to adopt kids. We really believed that that's what God had for us. And so we applied with our agency to adopt from Ethiopia, and we were told that it would be this quick, like 1 year process from sending in our application to landing back in the United States with our child. And it dragged on for almost 4 years. And in that time, we also continued to try to have kids. We were eventually told that without like really serious medical intervention, that it wouldn't happen for us. And as these years of our lives kind of dragged on, I really began to resent God. I was like, Lord, I did check, check, check. You owe me this. You owe me this life. And it made me feel like I didn't actually know God. And that was terrifying for someone who had really grown up in the church and had known Jesus her whole life. To feel like I didn't know God was really scary. He wasn't behaving the way that I envisioned God would behave, or the way that I thought he should behave. And I think, that like good behavior equals reward thing is really drilled into us. I mean, from a young age, right? Like preschool, like you have good behavior all week. You get to pick something from the treasure chest, or make good grades on your report card. I'll take you out for ice cream, all those kinds of things. And I applied that really human thinking to God. And that was a catastrophic mistake. And it led me down this kind of rabbit hole of doubt, of wondering, like, is God good? does he love me? And even like, is God real? Like, is what I have believed my whole life actually the truth? And in all of that, as hard as it was, God never let me go. Like, if I was God, I would have been like, you know what, lady, forget it. Like, have it your way. Peace out. Bye. But God stayed so faithful. And as much as I tried to just run away and rebel against him, he would not let me go. And it taught me so much about the character of God. And that was the piece that I think I had been missing. That, like, that God, he doesn't cause bad things to happen or hard things to happen, but that when they do, he is so gracious to use them to show us something about himself if we'll let him. Now, I was like really stubborn. And so this one quick little lesson took almost 4 years for me to learn, you know, but I learned it in such a way that I can't forget it. You know, I know absolutely that it's true. And so that, like, when I think about like my love story with God, like, I think, yes, obviously, when I first encountered Jesus, obviously, but when I think about God, like, showing up for me, it was in those 4 years when I was like behaving like a whiny toddler, you know, and really just, which I have a lot of experience with now, you know, and just throwing a tantrum and kicking and screaming, and God still saying, I'm not leaving you. You know, and I'm going to bring some beauty from these ashes. Like, I looked around my life and I was like, what is this mess? Like, this is not what I signed up for, God. Like, this is not, I don't deserve this. And God showed me that that was my pride talking, you know, that like, I don't deserve this. That's when our hearts grow proud. And so he let me suffer in that way so that he could reveal that sin in me, dig it out, and then show me who he really is. And I know you know a lot of kind of how that story ended up playing out. You know, we got the call back in 2014 that we were going to be parents, and we got to see our little boy's face for the first time. And he just go over to my Instagram page and just look for his face, because it's like the cutest thing you'll ever see in your life. And then, you know, we went to Ethiopia in the summer of the next year in 2015, and we weren't allowed to bring him home at first. We had to go and meet him and go to court and become his parents. And then we had to come back to the US without him. And I was furious with God. I was like, God, after everything we've been through, like, can't I just stay there? Like, just stay with him. But they wouldn't let me stay in the country. And so we went back. My mom went with me a month later to get him and to bring him back home. And it was between those trips, actually, that I got pregnant with our daughter. And so 10 days after we got home from Ethiopia, I found out that 8 months later I was going to have a baby. And so, you know, if God had written the story that I wanted, I wouldn't have Bradley, I wouldn't have Asher, and I wouldn't have Lucy, you know? And so I just see, like, when I look at their faces, I see God's faithfulness. I see his deep love for me in his refusal to give me the life that I really thought I wanted.
Baylor, that touched my heart in such fresh ways, from the beginning to the end of that testimony of how God completely transformed what you expected and gave you what you needed. Right. It reminds me of when the friends of the paralyzed man lowered him through the roof as Jesus was speaking and teaching, and Jesus didn't say, what's going on here? What's going on? And he didn't even say, okay, fine, I know what you want. You're healed. He looked at that man who was hurting and who was paralyzed, and he said, your sins are forgiven. Even when the paralyzed man coming to him and said, was thinking, I just want to be healed. Jesus said, no.
That's not what you need. Yeah.
But I'm going to give you what you need. So the similar testimony in my life and in your life and so many women's lives. God's like, I know what you think that you want. Right. But I'm going to give you what you need. And it's going to be more painful. But the sanctification that's going to come from it is full of undescribable peace. So I'm so happy for you. God even pulled you through those fiery times. Yeah, it was rough. There were a lot of, like, people say dark days. I'm like, dark years. There were dark
years. Yeah. And just that really like serious wondering. But I to me, that is so comforting about God, is that he is not worried by our doubt. Like me wondering if he's real doesn't make him less real. It gives him an opportunity to show up and show me that he is. And so I think a lot of times maybe we struggle like, oh, like my faith just isn't strong enough. Like none of that's true for all of us. Like none of our faith is strong enough. That's why we need Jesus, right? Like if we could just figure it out by ourselves, then God wouldn't have had to send Jesus here.
Absolutely. I mean, having gone through the book proposal boot camp, my mind is
Yes.
trained on statements now, Baylor. So bear with me as I pull out what you just said. You said, whether we, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to re-listen to it because I was reciting in my mind. He said, whether we believe him or not, like it doesn't take away from whether he's believing. Like it doesn't take
Right.
away from how real he is. So I love
Right.
that. I want to know, in the midst of you having grown during those intense 4 years, and since, like in the midst of toddler
Right.
years
Yeah.
and nurturing and
Whew.
discipling
Yes.
kiddos, trying to, obviously we talk about children a lot, but let's not forget about our marriage and how much work that also takes. What are some practical ways, or maybe just one real example of how perhaps recently, or a memory that you have of when you put love into action, when in the midst of your life and full life, where you thought, you know what, it's not about me, it's about loving others? When have you put love into action?
Yeah. So for me, I don't do New Year's resolutions. I
Okay.
do New Year's commitments because I don't like the word resolution. It makes me feel like I'm going to fail because, like all resolutions fail within like the first 2 weeks or something like that. But a New Year's commitment that I do every year is I'm going to tell people what I appreciate about them. And it makes some people feel uncomfortable because I think, maybe especially now with COVID where everyone's going around like with a mask and we're just like all by ourselves all the time, for someone to be like, hey, I really love this about you. I think it kind of, people are like, oh, that's like weird. Like get out of my personal space. Um, but I have really, and I'll tell people like, hey, every year I make a commitment that I'm going to tell people what I appreciate about them. And I want you to know that this is what I really appreciate about you. Like I've noticed that you are really good at this, or you're talented in this way, or I saw you do this and it really impacted me, or you said this to me last week and it just really like touched my heart. And I think to let people know, like I value you for the things that you are naturally gifted at doing. And I think it's something that makes people feel, or I hope, right? I hope it makes people feel like, wow, like I'm not just spinning my wheels, because I think sometimes people really feel that way. Like, gosh, it's just kind of like the humdrum, like going through the mundane. But to let people know, even in small things, like, hey, I appreciate this about you, or I value this about you, or I notice this about you. And I love that. And I think, we can do it with people we know and that we interact with on a regular basis. Like, tell you, I love how authentic you are. I do. I love how you don't try to like polish it up, for the world. I love that. Like, and I think that's something in our culture, especially where everything is filtered, and like now there are the filters that like make me look really skinny, or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But then I feel like you're very authentic, and I think that's valuable. I think we can say things like that to people we know, but then I think also to not be stingy with our compliments with strangers, to not be fake, but to be genuine. Like I saw a lady at the gym the other day and I really was digging her workout pants. And I was like, hey, I hope this isn't weird, but I really like those pants. You look great today. And she was like, oh, thank you. Just kind of caught her off guard a little bit. Or like, anything like that. People we see at the store, I feel like speaking kindness into people is a huge, huge thing, because I feel like our world moves so quickly and feels so chaotic that it's nice for people to feel like, oh, someone saw me, and
Yeah.
valued what they saw.
It's funny how like COVID has taught us to retreat and even almost place invisibility on a pedestal, from the
Yes.
seclusion, isolation that it's required in order for safety precautions. But even now, as like the world might be opening up with whatever choices you're making to be safe, I absolutely agree. And it's funny that you bring that up, because somebody today complimented me on my shoes. And Baylor,
There you
let
go.
me tell you, I thought about that
Yeah. Yeah.
several times because she didn't know that I have an insecurity about being frumpy. I
Yeah.
have an insecurity about like being really like not put together
Hmm.
and coming outside of the four walls of my home when I'm forced to be like in public, which I love the community. I love my people. I love my world. But, sometimes that insecurity, Satan attacks me and he's like, but you are so
Right.
undesirable. Look at the way you
Hmm.
look. Like, look at the way that your clothes are. And it's like these lies that Satan
Yeah.
convinces me of. And she said, oh, I love your shoes.
Hmm.
Easy compliment. I thought
Easy.
about it several times
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
So
think
New Year's, not resolution, but commitment
commitment.
to compliment when you feel it. Just
Hmm.
go for it.
Yeah, just go for it. Like, make it weird if it needs to be weird, like I do. Like, I have this instructor at the gym who I've taken her class for I mean 6 years at this point. And I pulled her aside one day and I was like, I just want to tell you that to me, you are so much more than a fitness instructor. And I listed for her all the ways that she has positively impacted my life and my family and helped me feel like I'm taking care of myself. I was like, because I bet there are times, her name's Chrissy. I was like, Chrissy, I bet there are times when you feel like I'm just a fitness instructor. I said, but I want you to know, to me, you are a lot more than that. You are a lifeline for me. And I appreciate you so much. And so I think, you know, telling people what you value about them is, I think that's a great way to show Jesus to people, because God values us, right? Like, God, he doesn't need us, but he values us. He treasures us. He created us. And he
Mm.
created us with unique talents, that are different from one another. And so when we speak highly of those in other people, maybe we're just reminding that person like, hey, God gave me that gift. And that's a
Mm.
good thing. And I can use it for his glory in the world.
That is such a beautiful, practical way to put love into action,
Mm-hmm.
to compliment people, to not use you even use the word stingy, to not be stingy
Mm-hmm.
with compliments. When you think it, say it.
Mm-hmm.
Get weird. I mean,
Yeah.
girl, right? End
Yeah.
of interview, like end of Love Fast
Yeah.
broadcast. Round of applause. I am inspired by that. That is really exciting. Um, to close out for the night, are you up for a little trivia?
Yeah, you're
Say
making me
trivia.
nervous though. The
Okay.
way you're talking, I'm like sweating over here. You're making me
No, no,
nervous.
no, no.
Okay.
Don't get nervous. Don't get
Okay.
nervous. I am not, it's not trivia. It's more or
Okay.
less like, hey, in this mom world, we're not alone.
Yes. Okay. As
And
long as there's not just one right answer, I'm game.
no. Okay, I'm gonna ease your anxiety. Take a deep breath. We
Yes.
took a deep breath together. This is basically a mom or dad quiz. Do you
Ooh,
do this or does dad do this?
I'm ready.
So, girl, you know, who pulls the weight in your house.
Mm.
Okay, so I'm gonna put the timer on. This is where the pressure
Oh, there's a timer? Oh my. Okay. I'm an Enneagram 1, Laura. You're stressing me out.
comes.
Okay.
I'm an Enneagram 9. I hate confrontation, so if you're
Okay.
uncomfortable,
There you go.
I am gonna put the timer on, but I don't even know if my computer will work as far as the alarm, because I would like to know all the details about yourself, but I'm gonna have to put a limit on it.
Okay.
I'm gonna hit start, and then I'm gonna ask you a series of questions, and you can either say mom or dad. Like, I
Okay.
do this,
It's like
or my
Family
husband does.
Feud. Okay. I'm ready.
Yeah, not like trivia, because I'm terrible at trivia. I would
Got it.
never do. All right, so here we go. Who changed more diapers?
Mom.
Spoils the baby most.
Mom.
Okay. Does anybody want more kids?
No. No one.
Okay, quick no. Who is more likely to put the baby's diaper backwards? Like when
Dad.
you guys did
Dad.
the dad?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool. Who takes more pictures of your kids?
Mom. Hands down.
Mom. Who is more patient with your kids?
Okay, it's both of us, but with different kids. Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
there's late.
Yes.
Okay, who told your family about adoption and pregnancy first? Like, who spilled the beans?
Oh, we did it together, and it was, we probably don't have time now, but we did it together and it was really fun. So ask me another time and I'll explain the story.
I am interested. We will
Yes.
have to have a separate conversation. And
Yes.
Baylor, that was your minute. I mean, I'm telling you, I was trying to keep up, but most of it was mom. Husbands are amazing.
They are. And to be fair, I am a stay-at-home mom. Like I have a women's ministry, but it's all done out of my house. So I used to be a middle school teacher, but when we brought Bradley home, I left the classroom. So
Touche. No, I mean, I'm not, my husband is the best dad, the best husband. But I was like, I do it all because I'm here.
yeah.
But it doesn't
Yeah.
belittle the fact that it takes a lot of work just
Correct.
because here, it's not like, oh, no big deal. Because
Yes.
you, as working women from home, raising the kiddos,
Mm-hmm.
it's what God has called us to do.
Yes.
But it is every single day, it's a surrender decision.
Yes. And it's hard work. Yeah.
Every day. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed chatting with you.
Yes, me too.
You are fun. You have such a, I don't know, Baylor, you have such a wise presence about you.
Oh,
I just want
thank
to,
you. Will you tell my kids that?
right? They wouldn't believe you. I just wanted to sit and say, what is she going to teach me next? And I hope that those who chose to join our Love Fest broadcast found a couple of nuggets in there where they could feel a little more at ease and say, you know what, God, I can serve people by giving spontaneous compliments. And if they don't leave their house, if they are just with their family or if they're at work,
Mm-hmm.
expending themselves to compliment their kids generously,
Huge.
complimenting their coworkers generously, which can also be very challenging.
Yes.
Loving our enemies by finding the good and complimenting them. I just love that truth that you shared.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun. I can't wait to meet you in person in June.
I don't know how many days we have, but it'll be soon.
It'll be soon.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. So I thank you guys so much for joining on. I kind of did a little wave at each of you. I adore you guys. Thank you so much. And all of those who are joining in who are Team Baylor, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm going to have it up on my blog in 2 weeks where you can read it and review it and watch it for yourself there too. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
Baylor.
Good night.
Bye,